A very warm welcome to today's webinar. Today, we'll be discussing the transition from a remote to a hybrid workforce model as organizations all over the world are gradually beginning to open their offices to employees. We'll see the challenges that are encountered by the organizations while managing a workforce that is constantly moving. To overcome these challenges and to prevent potential cyber attacks, we will discuss two important strategies today: Zero Trust and SASE, which is the Secure Access Service Edge. Later in the webinar, we will also explore how implementing these strategies will help in managing a hybrid workforce. And we'll also take a look at a couple of trends that will help you redefine your organization's security infrastructure. Now, one of the most significant changes that was brought about by the pandemic last year was the adoption of remote working by organizations all across the world. Now, a year later, organizations are gradually transitioning to a hybrid workforce model, which is nothing but a blend of remote and in office workspaces. Now, to put this in simple words, hybrid or blended model allows employees to work from their homes on some days and they can come down to the office on other days. So we can say that people are constantly moving and migrating between their homes and offices across different locations. Now, even though this model raises certain challenges pertaining to workforce security, according to some recent surveys that we've seen, employees are in fact preferring the hybrid working scenario where they can split the time between their personal and office workspaces. In fact, we ourselves here at Manage Engine have been working both from home and from office alternately, and this kind of helps us strike the balance between family and work life. In fact, now, since the employees have also grown used to working from the comfort of their homes, they are preferring the hybrid work model. In fact, in a recent study by Accenture, we saw that 83% employees are preferring the hybrid work model, which allows them to opt for remote work at least 25% of the time. So, we can safely assume that hybrid model is likely to become the obvious choice in the coming years. Now, here comes the challenge. In hybrid work model, there are no rigid rules. So you're free to choose from several variations and select a plan that suits your organizational needs. Some organizations prefer the remote first, office occasional model, and few prefer the office first, remote allowed model. Now, since you can choose or adopt any of this customized plan for your organization, it becomes incredibly difficult to monitor the organizational network. So, while the hybrid workforce model provides a lot of attractive benefits, there are some very serious challenges about security. So, deploying the hybrid model without addressing these concerns can lead to a lot of security consequences. Now, for starters, there is no clear security perimeter in a hybrid model. People and devices are constantly moving between several locations. They're not confined to the organization's network, and it becomes incredibly difficult to exercise control over them. So, in other situations, employees sometimes use their personal devices for work, which may not be, equipped with the necessary protection. So, this provides leeway for attackers to infiltrate the network and extract data. So, as we see, adopting a hybrid model not only results in an expanded threat landscape, but the increase in the adoption of BYOD policies, remote working, and all of this has paved the way for a lot of cyber attacks. Organizations have to support a huge number of remote workers across different geographical locations, so there is an exponential increase in cloud adoption. Now, cloud in the past have been the primary entry point for many attackers due to its own set of shortcomings, such as reduced visibility, lack of monitoring, and any traffic that goes in or out of the cloud needs to be continuously monitored, and every device needs to be authenticated. So, the expansiveness of the cloud increases the attack surface, and it leaves organizations more vulnerable to data breaches. This requires organizations to come with strict access policies to protect the cloud environment against security breaches and threats. Now, to manage and monitor these cloud entities effectively, we need a new set of policies which is cloud security friendly, and to keep up with these changing data security protocols to ensure we are compliant, it becomes a huge challenge since there is no single architecture or strategy which can do the job. Now, as I mentioned earlier, that employees and devices are not confined to the safety of monitored office spaces, ensuring the physical safety of the work devices is a concern. Now, while working from public spaces, the employees have to ensure that their devices and data are not accessed by any external entities. This is mostly because there is an increase in the probability of social engineering attacks, such as tailgating, which in turn compromises the organization's security, and therefore, extra care must be taken to prevent these types of attacks and to ensure the physical safety of the endpoint devices. So, if we look at it closely, everything, every attack, and even the response to an attack and what comes after boils down to one element in the whole system, which is humans. So it is very crucial for organizations to address the human element in cybersecurity. It is important to understand that humans form the first line of defense against any type of attack. So we need to concentrate on providing proper security training to employees, and employees are by far the most responsible for preventing any attacks while they are working away from their offices. We realized that the hybrid workforce model is not going away anytime soon. In fact, many organizations are planning on adopting the hybrid model in the long run. Now, how do we address these challenges? The only solution is to build an cybersecurity framework that is strong and which caters to the needs of the hybrid workforce while it also ensures security. So perimeter based security is no longer adequate since it was not developed for this dynamic security landscape and one that comes with the lack of perimeters. So, keeping the dynamic and unpredictable nature of the hybrid workforce in mind, organizations have to adopt strategies such as zero trust. There has been a huge surge in the adoption of zero trust policies due to the pandemic, and SASE, which is the Secure Access Service Edge, to help them against this constantly changing threat landscape. Traditional security models are perimeter based, and they are known as the castle and moat model. They work on the basic premise that everything within the organization's network can be inherently trusted, while everything outside the network is assumed to be hostile. Now, this model can no longer be competent for this threat landscape because here attacks and breaches can come from anywhere. Insider attacks are a great example. The perimeter based security will no longer be adequate, will no longer work because there might be an employee who you trust who is inside the organization's network, and you trust them with your critical resources, and in an occasion they go rogue. It might be intentional, it can have catastrophic impact on your security posture. So, traditional perimeter based security is redundant when an insider attack is taking place. On the other hand, zero trust, which is built on the fundamental premise that all users, devices, data, applications, no matter where they are located within and outside the network, are assumed to be hostile. So, any user, device, application is considered trustworthy only after it goes through authentication and is stated as authorized. This actually works out great for a hybrid workforce because users, devices, organizational assets, they are no longer within the network perimeter and they are constantly moving, and they will be stated as authorized only after they go through authentication. Zero trust is, again, not a one size fits all approach which can be just deployed as a single solution. In fact, it is a continuous and incremental process which requires you to continuously re-evaluate the organization's assets, then proceed ahead for the entire migration. So implementing zero trust architecture also does not stop with just the deployment. The network has to be continuously monitored for any signs of compromise, and organizations which have on-premises solution cannot build the zero trust architecture from scratch. They have to gradually migrate towards zero trust principles. We have to start one step at a time. And once the whole system reaches a functional stage, we can plan to upgrade the legacy systems and move into zero trust architecture. Now, since zero trust seems to work well for the hybrid workforce, it's important for every organization to deploy the zero trust architecture if they don't have one in place already. And if you already have a zero trust architecture in place, you have to upgrade it, update the policies, implement the latest IAM technologies, and this will help make sure that your network isn't compromised. Now, let's take a look at a couple of things we can do to adopt a zero trust approach. To secure the network, we have to first identify and catalog the entire organization's assets, subjects, business processes, data flow in order to define the protect surface. Now, all along, we have been trying to minimize the attack surface by including SSO. In case of an attack, the area that needs maximum protection because all our important assets, our business critical resources, will lie in the protect surface. Now, once the protect surface is identified, the traffic flow across the network will be monitored and continuously analyzed. The next step will be to establish the microperimeter around the protect surface and segment the network into smaller and more manageable zones. So this will establish a granular control over the network, and it also reduces the attack surface to a bare minimum and prevents any unauthorized lateral movement within the network. So, even if an attacker manages to gain access to the network, they will not be able to move laterally within the network since all of it is in small zones and small perimeters. They cannot move from one zone to another and they won't be able to access any privileged information. So, even though we do the micro segmentation, we have to ensure that the network is monitored at all times to detect any anomalies or any signs of compromise. To do this, we have user behavior analytics, UBA, and other threat detection techniques which can be employed to continuously monitor the network and shut down any malicious attacks or security breaches even before it takes place. Now, since IAM is at the core of the zero trust architecture, we have to pay attention to the authentication and authorization methods used across the network, basically, the access management part of it. To do this, we already know we can implement MFA, multi-factor authentication, single sign-on, and we can have strict password policies in place to protect the organizational resources from being accessed by any unauthorized users. In fact, in the hybrid workforce model, since employees are in different locations, this also paves the way for many credential based attacks. This can also again be prevented by using stringent authentication methods, and we have to keep updating our access policies based on the threat landscape. We also need to prevent any privilege abuse, and to do that, we have to implement the least privilege policy with the help of role based access control mechanisms. Now, what happens in this case is every user is entitled to access resources in a per session basis, and they will have just enough access to perform their job. Now, in a role based access control system, the user is granted access to organizational resources only based on their role within the organization. So, if you are from a department which do not need to have access to sensitive data, you wouldn't have access to it, and to any other organizational assets and resources, you will only have access as much as you need it. Employees are granted access on a need to know basis. So, this kind of also prevents the lateral movement within an organizational network. Now, the physical safety of devices have become a leading concern, which was actually not the case when we were all working from office. But endpoint device security is extremely crucial in a hybrid environment. This is mostly because employees are solely responsible for the physical safety of the devices, and adopting a unified endpoint management strategy can ensure endpoint security irrespective of the location of the devices. Now, it is very important to reiterate to employees the crucial role they play in the security of the organizations. So, hosting regular security training sessions for the employees to understand the security gaps and how to not fall prey to an attack is of utmost importance. When it comes to the IT security teams, they are responsible to ensure that all the devices are monitored continuously, and all security updates and all software updates are regularly patched on the devices of all employees in the organization. So, for the longest of time, for almost a decade, zero trust has been the go to strategy for organizations who are looking for a unified approach. Now, another very modern technology strategy, SASE, has been gaining interest. In fact, a lot of analysts have been speaking about SASE, and SASE was actually formulated by Gartner in 2019. So, SASE integrates software defined with network security, and it provides this whole thing as a single solution from the cloud platform. So, in SASE, the network controls are placed at the cloud edge, and therefore it is very well suited for remote working and hybrid working scenarios, since employees can access organization resources in a secure manner from their location, and for the organization it ensures better visibility and better granular control over the traffic flowing into and out of the network. Now we will take a look at a couple of core security components of SASE. The first one being secure web gateways. It filters web traffic and it blocks traffic from any malicious websites. So every employee, while they use or access the internet, they have to use it according to the security policies that the organization has set in place, and this can be implemented for both in office and remote employees. The second one being the Cloud Access Security Broker, CASB. So, CASB acts as an intermediary between users and the cloud service providers. It works as a policy enforcement center. It consolidates multiple types of security policies and applies them to everything or every component of your business that utilizes the, regardless of what sort of device is attempting to access the cloud. It can be smartphones, it can be IoT devices, or it can also be personal laptops. The third one is the zero trust network access. Zero trust is an inseparable part of the SASE architecture. And when these two strategies come together and work together hand in hand, the chances of falling prey to an attack becomes much less. And in this case, the hybrid workforce model is very demanding. It demands real-time verification of users before they are granted access to the network resources. Therefore, we need a unified strategy that protects against data breaches by locking the internal resources from all unauthorized users. The next one being firewall as a service. We use it in our personal laptops, we use it in our work laptops. So, firewall filters the network traffic to safeguard organizations from threats. Deeper content inspection capabilities gives them the ability to identify malware attacks and other threats. So, this is positioned between your network and the internet, and any traffic which attempts to enter your network, the firewall inspects it to detect and check threats. So now we have come to a point where we realize that SASE addresses the network and security requirements more holistically using a distributed cloud based platform instead of point solutions. So the requirements that once required multiple solutions to source, provision, monitor, maintain are now addressed with a single converged solutions. So all these requirements, provisioning, monitoring, and maintaining the point solutions across the whole enterprise's network usually drives up the budget of the organization. So they end up compromising on a couple of security features. One more add-on benefit of SASE, it enforces authentication of all devices and users and restricts access to any asset or resource based on policy, context-based in most of the cases, every user, device, and application identity while making such decisions. So, some of the key benefits provided by SASE are the flexibility. It provides less complex because we have one unified solution, and it also prevents malicious activity since it has zero trust network access in place. It has firewalls, and the whole management of your security infrastructure can be streamlined. But the convergence and ease of use is actually what got industry experts excited in SASE in the first place. And looking ahead to 2022, we can see that the hybrid work scenario will likely continue, will, you know, adapt itself to the recent changes in the cybersecurity operations that once had been caused due to the pandemic, and now it's continuing. So let's take a look at a couple of trends, strategies which we have to keep in mind while building our IAM framework. This will actually prevent security breaches and attacks while organizations transition to a hybrid workforce model. So, what exactly is the cybersecurity mesh? The cybersecurity mesh model is an approach where the security perimeter is built around each and every identity, be it people, be it objects, be it assets. So, this means that the security control can be made scalable, it can be flexible, and obviously, it is more reliable. The remote working scenario that gained a lot of momentum over the past year has led to the addition of cybersecurity mesh on the list of future IAM trends. In fact, Gartner has predicted that cybersecurity mesh will support more than half of all IAM requests by 2025. So rather than building a single perimeter, we create smaller individual perimeters around each access point. We can ensure that only authorized users or devices will be allowed to access the organization's network and resources. We usually do this to ensure that the security of each access point is managed from a centralized point of authority. Cybersecurity mesh addresses the biggest challenges of the hybrid workforce scenario, which is the disappearance of perimeters altogether, and secures a workforce that is highly dynamic. Likely, it will be one of the most adopted trends. Next one we've got is managed security service providers. We have been seeing that not only due to the pandemic, but almost in the last decade, the demand for cybersecurity services is increasing because more and more organizations are constantly struggling to keep up against the continuously evolving threat landscape. And few of them also lack the necessary skills and resources to develop and implement the IAM systems, and instead they employ professional managed security service providers. Gartner has also released a report in which they have predicted that the delivery of IAM services in the near future will actually depend on these managed service security providers. And by 2023, almost 40% of IAM application convergence will be driven by managed security service providers. They provide a wide range of security services to organizations. So they actually do everything step by step. The first step being the deployment, and then they maintain the firewalls, the VPNs, the antivirus systems, and also the IAM solutions. And they may even, as an extension of the IT department of your organization, they take up a lot of aspects of the IT security functions. We can safely say that it's comparatively more cost effective than hiring and training in house security teams. So, by looking at it, it is likely to create an increase in the demand of these managed security service providers, since organizations are actually facing a huge shortage in the amount of resources and skilled employees capable of catering to this surge in remote workers. The next point is identity proofing tools. We have seen that the pandemic had disrupted the normal functioning across every sector and every industry, and everyone started using online services ranging from video conferencing to online learning tools. And this has led to a surge in the number of digital identities. So, what do we do? What do the organizations do to handle this huge increase in the number of digital identities? They have to be verified. It's a tedious task of verifying the large number of digital identities on a daily basis through the process of identity proofing. So, organizations are liable to suffer huge losses due to identity related fraud and data breaches in case they lag in the identity proofing procedure. So the best way out is to employ identity proofing tools from third party vendors to ensure that the organization does not fall prey to identity related attacks due to poor identity proofing process. Again, I'll quote Gartner. It has said that almost 30% of enterprises will implement identity proofing tools to address common weaknesses in workforce identity lifecycle processes. Now, on the other hand, identity proofing vendors must work towards reducing the demographic bias in their identity proofing tools. So, most identity proofing tools require people to verify their identities using facial recognition, and it was found that most facial recognition algorithms exhibited bias against people belonging to certain ethnic groups, genders, and age groups. In some cases, it was also found that there were discrepancies in the verification processes, due to poor camera resolution, the lighting conditions. So, these identity proofing vendors have to develop algorithms that do not exhibit or show demographic bias, since it can have very serious repercussions when it comes to identity verification and customer relations and a lot of legal implications. So identity proofing vendors have to prove that they are indeed minimizing demographic bias in their tool. The next component is decentralized identity standards. So, all of us have been listening about blockchain, and it has been the buzzword in IM for quite some time. So, the traditional method of centralized identity management has a lot of shortcomings, mostly because of lack of privacy, security, and in this method, users are generally required to provide a lot of personal information for identification. But using decentralized identity standards, identities like usernames, phone numbers, and other personal information are actually getting replaced by independent and self owned identities. So your privacy is protected since you'll have to provide only the bare minimum required information. So, as we implement a decentralized approach using blockchain technology, the user is in charge and has total visibility over their identity related information, and they do not have to interact with any intermediaries. So, this method has proved to provide enhanced security since it is tamper proof. Every individual on the blockchain possesses a ledger of all transactions, has proper visibility, and this also helps organizations reduce security risks because we are reducing the probability of misusing sensitive information. There can be another advantage because it simplifies the compliance management because we do not have to share unnecessary personal information. Analysts have been predicting that this decentralized identity standard will emerge by the year 2024 to deal with a lot of different use cases, and it'll overcome all the shortcomings of the traditional centralized identity management, and it'll become more prevalent in the near future. The next one being privileged access management and cloud security. Now, we have been observing an increasing number of cyber attacks and digital breaches, and privileged access management is very crucial to protect organizations from both outsiders and insider threats. So, privileged administrator accounts that are usually the target of attacks, since gaining access to these accounts will provide the attacker a lot of critical permissions, such as the permission to make configuration changes and control or manage access to privileged accounts. Traditional PAM systems, they relied mostly on passwords, for security, and passwords are actually now considered insecure. Future PAM systems aim at an identity centric approach that is more flexible and it's also easy to deploy. This is extremely important in the hybrid work environment where these privileged accounts are more vulnerable to attacks due to the lack of security perimeters. Similarly, as we have discussed it earlier as well, it is extremely crucial to ramp up the cloud security to manage these cloud identities, as there is like a mass increase in cloud adoption and developing a strict IAM framework that secures cloud identities. Now, we saw earlier that ensuring cloud security is one of the biggest challenges while catering to a hybrid workforce. So we have to make sure that we pay attention to securing the cloud and using solutions that provide effective security to the cloud. Also, ensure that we have clear visibility and control over our cloud resources and entity. Now, all these technologies must also sit on top of a reliable identity platform that meets most of the use cases. And at this point, it should ensure it is future proof for the years to come as the whole landscape has been continuously evolving. Attacks are getting more sophisticated. So we have to stay ahead to ensure that our security infrastructure or the security posture of our organization is impeccable. So now I'll just summarize by saying that we have seen, and it's almost very evident, that the hybrid workforce model is going to stay here and it will be the norm in the coming years, which means that we have to rethink our IAM and cybersecurity strategy to support this workforce. To do that, we have to develop an approach that integrates the current and the future IAM technologies and is custom made to support the needs of your organization. We have to ensure that every organization has their own security requirements, and we should be able to cater to every kind of requirement. So, we have to consider a strategy that's adaptable and flexible so that you don't have to start from scratch when there are changing business requirements. Thank you guys for joining the webinar. You can drop your questions on the chat right here. I'll be more than happy to take them. Thank you guys. Take care and be safe.